Okay, friends, welcome back to the channel. Kind of like my video from Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. I'm gonna. I only have two today. I have more than one, but I have two. But I kind of looked into it a little bit more. I think I found these on a weird wackadoo Facebook group. So the first one is The Faceless Men Cause the Doom of Valyria. And I don't want to, wait and have you guys thinking, oh, what's the second one going to be? It is Brienne of Tarth is a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall. I thought that was another good one that I haven't really heard about at all. But there was some solid reasons behind it, so I'm going to tell you those ones. So, first one, the Faceless Men caused the doom of Valyria. Okay, so the Faceless Men, the shadowy assassins guild headquartered in Bravos, were actually the secret architects behind the cataclysm, the Doom of Valyria, an event that, as we all know, destroyed the greatest empire in Essos and basically shattered the world's pecking order. Valyria was up here, and then it was everybody else, and then it was everybody else. It was a free for all. So a little bit of background, a little bit of backstory here. The Doom occurred roughly 100 years before Aegon's conquest. 14 volcanoes erupted simultaneously in Valyria, wiping out the Freehold, the Dragon Lords, the dragons, the cities, and most of the knowledge of Valyria. And the cause was never really explained in the books. That never definitively explained in the books. The cataclysm is treated like a complete mystery or a divine punishment for Valyria being dickheads for so long. So now we're going to get to some of the evidence that I found through that comment section and through a few things I looked up. So the origins of the Faceless Men were actually in the mines of Valyria with the slaves. The Faceless Men traced their origins to the slaves who worked in the volcano forges, deep within Valyria. These mines were filled with fire and shadows. From what I found, they were very hell-like, hell-adjacent, if you will. A nameless slave girl gave the gift of mercy to fellow slaves, creating the foundation for the Faceless Men's philosophy. In the book, I think it was the Feast of Crows, possibly. It all runs together in my head. It said something along the lines of like the Faceless Men began with the slave and Valyria mines. I would say don't quote me, but it pretty sure it's that book. And yeah, so could it be? Yes, 1000%. The Faceless Men, they despised the Dragon Lords and slavery, which, I mean, if most people grew up in the Westeros universe, they probably hate slavery. So the Faceless Men, they despised slavery, which was like fundamental to Valyrian society. The Valyrian Dragon Lords were not just tyrants and just, again, dickheads, but they used magic and breeding programs and blood rituals to maintain their power. And by destroying Valyria, this would have served as like a purification from the Faceless Men, which, again, so far so good. The belief in the Faceless Men worship the many-faced god. We all know this. Read the books, watched the TV show. You get the gist of it. They believe death is merciful and a balancing force. And by killing the empire that built itself on domination, slavery, fire, it wasn't murder, it was just a divine justice. Their power... Sorry, I have this all kind of just thrown out on a Word document. So, even by the time of the main books, the Faceless Men were feared around the world, respected, and rich. They had centuries to grow in the shadows post the Doom, and it kind of raised the questions, did the Doom create them, or did they create the Doom? And this is one of the things that I found a few people say, and I'm like, interesting. So some people believe the price to kill an entire, I wouldn't say continent, but let's call it a country, for lack of a better term, for the Game of Thrones universe, but not many people could have paid that price. The theory is like the Iron Bank of Bravos was just like, here, take my money, or a combination of the Bank of Bravos or secret benefactors. I think killing a country in West or in the Game of Thrones universe, it may be equivalent to a bunch of rich people coming together to buy a sports franchise, like an NFL team, where several several millionaires, billionaires have to get together, pool the resources, and go, here, we want to buy the team. Maybe several different, again, countries got together and their leaders were like, hey, we will give you X amount of, gold, silver, whatever you want, basically, if you just find a way to get rid of these guys. And that's what they did. And the reason that I saw that people picked the Iron Bank of Bravos was Bravos became pretty strong after the Doom, and the city was founded by former Valyrian slaves. So it is what it is. Um, I don't want to say this because it was kind of thrown into like the end or the most recent things, but they were basically saying that they weren't just assassins. People should stop thinking of them as just assassins, but they're actually world changers and yada yada. But yeah, it is what it is. Believe that one at your own peril. This one is kind of like, I wouldn't say normal, but it's not as crazy as that. We're not killing continents with this one. It's just maybe one tall person knocked up a distant relative of another tall person. So Brienne of Tarth is a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall. Brienne of Tarth is not an acknowledged descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall, but the connection hasn't been outright stated. It hasn't been confirmed. It hasn't been acknowledged. Some people are like hint, hint, nod, nod, but it is heavily implied through descriptions and clues and George R. R. Martin's own writings, which again, tall people being tall isn't exactly like a these people must be related type of thing. There are a ton of tall people in the Game of Thrones universe. It doesn't mean they're all related. Doesn't mean they all have a single ancestor to look to. So let's break this down again. This is not going to be the last one. This is not going to be the Doom of Valyria one. So Sir Duncan the Tall was the hero of the Duncan Egg writings. He was famous for being, shocker, tall. Sir Duncan the Tall is known for being tall. Not shocked. He's known for his towering height, noble heart, and clumsy chivalry. Or just being a goof. What some people wrote, but I tried to class it up a bit. He was a low-born knight who rose to great honor and became Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. The cool beans, he traveled with Aegon, and Egg later became king. The clues that some of the people, again, these aren't very good. Bran was exceptionally tall. Strong, broad-shouldered. Okay, cool. Doesn't mean she was related to him. And I'm going to kind of be debunking this as I go on myself, unless there's a really good point that I forgot I put in there. Dunk was described as nearly 7 feet tall, which is a rarity. Yes and no. You can look up right now online some of the taller people in Westeros. They're all about like 6'6" to 7 foot. Some of just like the freakishly tall people. And again, some of these people are on completely different sides of Westeros, not having any relatives in common. So doesn't mean they're all related. Both were frequently called ugly or awkward. We watch the show, we get that. But possessing a quiet nobility and strong moral code, yeah, we watched that happen in real time. Brienne has a very strong moral code. Location is Tarth. Dunk fought and traveled through the Stormlands, including Tarth's general region. And it's very possible he fathered a child with a noblewoman or a commoner without knowing it. From all of these theories, sorry, I'm going to get real vulgar here for a second. In a lot of these theories, not just this one, but some of the other ones about Hodor being Sir Duncan the Tall's relative, yada yada. It seems as if Sir Duncan the Tall was just going through Westeros, just slanging dick. That's what all of these theories say to me. It's just he was just going. He didn't have any time to be a knight. he didn't have any time to do anything in the King's Guard. He was just slanging dick throughout the land, which is kind of wild to me. But yeah, so there's that. Both Dunk and Brienne are honorable to a fault. Sure, they believe deeply in chivalry, justice, and protecting the innocent, even when the world mocks or punishes them for it. Brienne, definitely. I'm kind of waiting for. I want to see the show's take on Sir Duncan the Tall before I go throwing nonsense out there because I think it'll be good, but it's just gonna be kind of awkward. I think because there's not gonna be dragons and shit, which is gonna be like the first show without dragons everywhere. Let's see here. What else did I write down? Bran even dreams of being a knight, just like Dunk. Uh, I imagine every peasant in Westeros dreams of being a knight, male or female. Knights are kind of like the bee's knees, unless you're in the north, because you're just kind of not about that thing. But yeah, everyone dreams about being a knight, so that's a terrible. It's just a terrible fucking thing. So George R. R. Martin has hinted at a connection, apparently in interviews. These are from what the crazy people say, so take it with a grain of salt. He has smiled or gone silent when asked if Duncan has descendants. Again, at the rate these people are coming up with conspiracy theories about Dunk in general, he must have just been slanging dick all over Westeros. So him going silent when asked if he has descendants, sure, he probably has descendants. Like every knights were slanging dick, soldiers were slanging dick. Sorry, this is just a lot about slanging dick because that's hilarious to me. But like, how many bastards did King Robert have? How many like the Targaryens had so many bastards, they literally fought a bastard war for the throne several times with the Blackfire rebellions. Like, bastards aren't a crazy thing to come by, so there's that. He also said Brienne might have a connection to Dunk, but refuses to confirm it. Again, okay, that literally means nothing. Brienne could have had a connection to Dunk as she walked by one of his tall relatives this one time. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Brienne is, oh God, this is some of the cheesy shit some people wrote. Brienne is in many ways the spiritual successor to Dunk. I don't see that. She's flawed, kind, physically awkward, but a powerful knight struggling to live up to the ideals of what a knight should be. And some people wrote, oh, that was like Dunk. Okay. Being a good person in Westeros, struggling to be a good person in Westeros is kind of something that a lot of people do. It doesn't mean they're descendants of Sir Duncan the Tall. Oh God. Okay. So again, as I closed out the last, so I'm gonna close this one out the same way. Some of the more recent comments that were like people piggybacking off of all of the comments. If Brienne is descendant from Dunk, she is connected to the Targaryen royal line by extension. Okay. Again, that doesn't mean they're related. The Targaryens were doing everything with everyone at some point in their story, in their timeline. That means nothing. And it makes her legacy, it makes her a legacy character who unknowingly carries the legacy of a decent, good person in an extremely brutal world. And that's that. That's the video, guys. There's two. This is gonna pain me to say. I think the first one, the faceless men caused the doom of Valyria. I think that's more plausible and has more things to back it up than Brienne of Tarth being a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall. That's like a lot of people were saying, oh, Hodor is a descendant of Duncan the Tall, with like zero evidence other than he's really tall. That doesn't mean you're related to somebody, but yeah, I think that one's more plausible than Bran of Tarth being related to Duncan the Tall. That's the video. If you guys like it, share it, yada yada. Please, in the comment section, leave me suggestions. These theories take me forever to find and kind of a long time to research, like days, because some people on Reddit and YouTube are just that crazy and will literally say anything. And it's really hard to track down sometimes. So if you guys have a good like a good theory, a good probable, improbable, definitely not probable theory about Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Warhammer 40K, drop it in the comments and I'll try to get to it because that would be a lot more interesting than me talking to crazy people on Facebook. So there's that. Everybody have a good rest of your day. Peace.